The drip drip of evidence from the federal government has finally begun in the Trump assassination attempt. First, guys, please go check out my friends Gideon Optics. These guys make amazing optics. If you're looking for something that you can either put on a pistol or an AR-15 or any kind, heck, if you want a rifle and reach out there, you guys know the discount code FTATF. You'll get 10% off. Again, go to GideonOptics.com. FTATF, receive 10% off. Real quick regarding Gideon Optics, the two winners of our previous Gideon Optic giveaways, just so you know, your optics went out yesterday, Monday. You should be receiving them any day now or late this week at the very latest. So again, those of you, there's two of you, who have won Gideon Optics from giveaways that we've done, look for the optics and a free copy of my signed book in your mail this week. Well, the FBI, in a drip fashion of breakneck speed, is finally releasing a little bit of information in their, quote, investigation. Did you know the FBI had their own website for stuff like this? I didn't realize this. On the FBI's own website, you can now find pictures of what is supposed to be Thomas Matthew Crooks' rifle that he used to shoot Trump in the ear, to kill Corey Compentori, and to wound two other people in the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting. Now, these are the slides that they released. Of course, this is the main one right here of the rifle. We'll get more into this discussion here in a second, so bear with me as I go through these slides. This particular slide, I believe they broke this rifle down to show how Crooks, I'm talking about, may have gotten this firearm past security, and that's, of course, his book bag that they also recovered on the roof of the AGR building. This next slide is the one of the inside of his trunk, which supposedly shows the two explosive devices. And finally, this fourth picture. It's not an evidence picture, but it is in with this file. This was taken after the shooting, obviously, but well after, I think a couple days or a week after. That's going to show the air conditioner that Crooks supposedly climbed up on top of to get on top of the AGR building. So let's go through these one by one. First of all, let's look at the backpack and the rifle. Of course, the rifle is a DPMS rifle. This was with the prior ownership before Palmetto State Armory bought them out. It's the model A15, and I believe this model was from back in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. Caliber in .556, Remington semi-automatic. The attachments, I don't know why they honestly talked about the rail, the Aero Precision rail, but this handguard is an Aero Precision handguard. I'm not 100% sure why that was relevant, because why not name every other single thing attached to the rifle too? That was kind of weird. Maybe they just saw a name on it, and they, being non-gun guys, they thought that would be something relevant they could include. The optic attachment, it's an Ames optic. Personally, guys, and I'm not trying to be an optics snob here, but I have never heard of Ames before, AEMS. So my apologies there. I'm not familiar with it at all. I will likely Google it. I'm sure it's on the lower end of the price point. But again, I've not heard of that brand before. And of course, the extendable rear stock, the butt stock, the collapsible stock is a Magpul collapsible stock. Now you'll notice a little chunk taken out of it. Let's go to a little bit closer view of that. That chunk taken out right there is where allegedly shot number 9 came from. Remember the shot that we kept saying that Ray lied under oath, because Ray said that there was a total, including the counter sniper shot, of only 9 shots. And we knew that he was wrong, and we knew that he was either wrong or lying the whole time, because we emphatically and without question counted 10 shots, which included the counter sniper shot, which was a 10-second delay after the 9th shot. Well, they were only counting 8 shots up to that point, claiming that all 8 were from Crooks. Then that there was a 10-second delay, and then the counter sniper shot came. We knew there was a 9th shot before that counter sniper shot. Now they're saying that this must be what happened, that chunk that is taken from that buttstock, that Magpul buttstock at the very end there, is from that 9th shot, from somebody on the ground, kind of off behind Trump to the right, who shot from the ground up here. Now, I'm not sure how that's possible based on the angle of the roof, unless the guy was overhanging that peak at the top of the AGR booth. But nevertheless, that is what they are saying, that this was a shot taken that hit the buttstock. Not sure if it hit Crooks. It could have, but nevertheless, that's what they're saying, that this damage from this stock is from that 9th shot that they now finally admit took place. And then, of course, shot number 10 was supposed to be what finally took Crooks out. Now, if we look again at this backpack and upper and lower receiver set, you still got to look at this and shake your head, right? Judging by this picture right here, with these two items side by side, the upper receiver with a 16-inch barrel still would have protruded from that bag if Crooks had been walking around with it a good 3 to 5 inches possibly. Again, that's assuming that the receiver would have been seated all the way to the very bottom of that backpack. It likely still would have stuck out the top. So it still baffles me how we are sticking to this narrative, and maybe it's true, but how did no one happen to see either the barrel poking out of the top of that backpack or see the back end of the receiver set poking out of the top of that backpack? Maybe if the receiver was backwards and the muzzle was pointing downward, maybe some people, and I say some people, I mean most of you guys out there are going to recognize this a mile away, but maybe some people didn't recognize it as a firearm if that's what was poking out of the top of that backpack. In other words, if it wasn't the muzzle, maybe the average everyday person who might have been at this rally would have normally recognized the muzzle sticking out, but maybe they would not have recognized that. I still find that extremely hard to believe, especially knowing how much law enforcement was in this area and supposedly on a pretty decent alert, knowing that they have somebody that they have to protect there. And of course, guns are off limits at this rally to begin with. So you have so many things in play here that make me question this narrative that the upper receiver was hidden from view in this backpack, because clearly it could not be hidden from view in this backpack. Now, he could have had a t-shirt thrown over it or something like that. I get that. I get all the things in play that could have disguised this. They're not stating that. Again, here we go with the FBI not providing any real information to keep us asking questions. And I might add, this is 46 days from the shooting on July 13th. 46 days for us to see a picture of the rifle from this high-profile shooting that they have had in their possession for 46 days. And now we see a picture of it. We've seen fuzzy pictures of it on top of the roof. We've seen, I guess, blacked out or blocked out pictures of it, fuzzed out. We've seen grainy pictures of it. Now we see this 46 days later. I realize this is government. Government is slow at everything, and they're bad at everything, and they suck at everything. But nevertheless, these people had this in their possession, and they could have put this out sooner. They really do owe this to the people, because this is something that is a super high-profile incident that happened, and people are requesting and demanding answers, and it takes them 46 days to get nothing more than a snapshot out to the people. Now, looking at the trunk, here's another backpack in there to the far left, of course, and then you see two supposedly explosive devices right here. Talk about some, rude and crude looking stuff that he's got there. Not sure what's inside those containers, but clearly it looks like possibly ammo cans maybe, that these are. At least the green one definitely looks like it may be an ammo can. It looks like it's hinged on the back side there. But they're claiming that the receivers on these were switched in the off position. So the transmitter, even if it had been successful in attempting to send a signal, would not have been able to successfully send one, because the receivers in this case were actually in the off position. So these were rendered useless when the moment he left the car, because he didn't turn these on. Again, that's what they're stating. I'm not saying they would have ever worked. And these things look as crude can be. And they look like they're tossed in the back of this trunk. It looks like the item underneath the green ammo can is likely the gun case that the rifle might have come in. That looks like a soft case for a rifle. And again, we have another backpack to the left of that. Not sure what's in there. Now, this last photo that we have here, they're saying that they call it a tan unit or whatever that thing is to the far right over there. That's what they're claiming that Crooks climbed on top of. Now, if we look a little bit better at that, we can see it's still a pretty good little jump to get on top of that roof. My guess is he probably used this little bracket that's holding that piece of PVC pipe against the wall. He probably used that as a foothold. It does look like it is ever so slightly bent downward. Not much, But this was a skinny kid, so probably did not put a whole lot of weight on that, and he still was likely grabbing hold to the roof, so 100% of his weight would not have been on there. But I'm guessing that that's how, if they're stating he got up on top of this particular unit, then more than likely he was holding on to the rim of that roof and used that foothold to get himself up and above that. Now, this is something that has bothered me from day one, but since I didn't have enough information, I didn't really want to talk about it. But I'm going to talk about it now, since now we have a picture of the gun and the backpack and all that good stuff on top of the AGR building. We have to assume this picture right here was more than likely immediately after gunshots rang out. And let me tell you why. Unless something weird happened, and I'm certainly not implying that nothing weird happened, notice there is no red stuff coming from the body. I'm being careful with my words here because YouTube is not going to like this video already, and I do not want them to take it down. So I'm being very careful. The red liquid that runs in our veins, there is not a trail leading from the body all the way down that roof line like we've seen in other pictures. We've seen that red liquid all the way down that entire rail system until it reaches the edge of the roof. We do not see that right here, which tells us a couple things. Either we're dealing with a doctored site. I'm not saying that. I'm just giving you the possibilities. Or this guy's red liquid had not begun to exit his body quite yet, meaning that this had to have been nearly immediately after the first, or at least the termination shot. Okay, if that is the case, and we are this quick after the actual termination shot, that firearm looks to be 6 to 8 feet from Crooks. It did not roll there. It went sideways, and there are rails that separate each one of those little panels. So it didn't roll. It did not slide there. So it had to have been thrown there, or it flew there. If Crooks was in a prone position and a round came from him from the south of the building, heading north, then I don't understand how perfectly at 3 o'clock from his body that rifle could have flown. Now, some people have said law enforcement throws that firearm to the side whenever they're making the job site or the crime site safe. I get that, and I believe that, and had this been one of those situations where we saw guys crowded around the body in this particular photo, I would have said, yep, that's probably what happened. But I don't think that's what happened. First of all, nobody's standing around there. Secondly, if anyone wants to imply, oh, this is much later in the day, well, they had not hosed off this roof yet. Remember, they hosed the roof off a couple of days after this. So the red liquid had not been hosed off the roof yet. So this had to have been immediately after shots were fired. I don't see anyone standing on the building. And again, unless there was some weird delay in that red liquid deciding to leave his body, this had to have been instantaneous. So no one had accessed the roof at this point. I think that's a very reasonable assumption that we can make. How did the firearm fly literally from a 90-degree angle from the direction and the travel of that round coming south? How did this thing fly east? If the round is coming from the south, heading north, how did the rifle fly due east 8 feet from the body? If someone can answer that for me, I'm okay with it. Give me a reasonable answer, and I'm going to be fine with it. Now, the track record with the FBI is in the basement right now. It's in the crapper. So if they just say, oh, that's just how it landed, not going to buy it. Sorry, fellas. Sorry. You guys have lied enough. You know, your own boss lied that there were only 9 shots fired under oath when we all knew there were 10. So your track record of providing actual facts, not that great. So you're going to have to do better than that. You're going to have to use physics and math to explain to me how that firearm flew where it was. Now, you're saying that it got shot, right? Still, how did it fly there? If it was hit in the buttstock from a round traveling from the south heading north, you can't tell me that it's possible from a physics standpoint for this thing to fly due east from the proximity of that body. It's not even downrange from the body. It's immediately to the east of it. So that doesn't work with me. You can't say it had anything to do with the rifle actually being shot that made this happen. The only reasonable explanation, and look, It's like I'm doing their work for them when I say this. The only reasonable explanation is that where the rifle is where Crooks actually was when supposedly the buttstock got hit by that round from the guy on the ground. Then he got up to regroup after that round hit the buttstock, and maybe he was a few panels over, 8 feet over, whenever the sniper actually hit him. Again, I'm helping them out with this. I'm trying to be fair here and give all possibilities. I'm not going to say that an alien did this or somebody planted the gun or anything like that until we have a chance to look at every single opportunity to say this is not what it was. It is reasonable to believe that where the rifle is where he actually was. Because if you look where the backpack is, it's directly north of where the rifle is. So it would make sense, and it would almost calm my nerves a little bit if you told me Crooks originally was positioned right where the rifle is. The rifle got shot in the buttstock. He got up, went to run away, whatever, and he got popped 8 feet from there to the west of where the rifle is. You know what, guys? If you can show all that to me, surely somebody's got it on video, right? I'm just saying, a lot of video cameras out there, including from you guys. But if you can just explain that away, it'll make more sense to me, because I have had a hard time wrapping my head around this. I have to believe at the point that you were looking at right here of this body on the roof with the rifle, with the backpack there, that no law enforcement, based on the red stuff not having come out of the body yet, no law enforcement had access to this rooftop yet. So the rifle and the body allegedly fell right where they are and were not thrown to the side, which makes me again think, how did this happen? It's a shame that we are all still doing their work, right? All of us are. I'm not talking about just me. There's a lot of guys online. You guys are emailing me stuff, which, by the way, my email is paul@legallyarmedamerica.com. We have been doing endless hours of work for 46 days. I realize it's a federal government job. Finger in the butt, they don't do a whole lot, right? They gay each other a little bit. Okay, have fun. Let's go back to work now, right? It should not take 46 days to trickle a little bit of evidence out to the taxpayers who are footing the bill for this entire investigation. The pompous nature of these guys in charge of this thing, I think they are going to trickle a little bit out at a time just to piss the American taxpayer off and let them know we're in charge here.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's over.